Now it's time to take the next step. We have a new world beginning now, where we look to ourselves for the goodness in ourselves, so that we can share that goodness with others based on what we can accomplish with the Lord. And we don't have to have a third party involved. It's not necessary. I pray to God every night. I thank Him for my parents who are no longer here, because I believe that they are somewhere wonderful, having a marvelous time, and I love them just like I love them now, and I hope someday I get a chance to see them again. That's my belief. That's my belief. And I had a wonderful mother. I had a saint for a mother. Not really a saint. She was really a wonderful lady. But she was a wonderful mother. You know, like I said, I was adopted. Who knows where I came from? These nice people took me in. And when I tried to explain to my mom that before God, all men are forgiven, their sins are not erased. You see, that's the problem with doing bad things. It stays with you forever. Forever. You can't erase them. So that means if we go on in an afterlife and we live forever, we carry those memories, those acknowledgments with us forever. So that's why it's kind of important to do good things, because that's the kind of baggage you want to have. Good baggage, not bad baggage. Let me check my time. Okay, we're doing good. So I would try to explain to my mom. So the footnote of this revelation is through the Father. You can only get to me through you can only get to the Father through me. That's not. He didn't mean that. He didn't mean that. He meant he was the only one teaching these good things, and the only way you can get to God is by learning and doing and living these good things. That's what it was. It wasn't going through Him. He never put Himself up as God. He never said, you must go through me. Remember, these are words that are written down later on. You know, we don't have videotape, okay, of Sermon on the Mount. We don't have those things. So, anyway, so let me just, I don't want to digress too much. Oh, I get so wrapped up in this stuff. Anyway, so I'm talking to my mom, beautiful, beautiful woman. I'm trying to explain to her that when a man stands before God, every man, every woman, every life can be forgiven by God, because God understands all of the aspects that has somebody go through their life the way they do, whether it's a chemical imbalance or a bad environment or abuse or any other number of things that caused it. And my mother, this wonderful, glorious woman, you know, that everybody wanted to have as a mom, she knew there was a hell and she knew who was going. And I couldn't convince her. There was nothing I could do to convince her that, Mom, before God, all men are forgiven. And I can understand, too, why the church in those days would have been afraid to say that, because it would have been like turning everybody loose. Go do what you want. You're going to be forgiven in the end. You see, but the problem is, you're also going to be responsible for what you did. And once you are before God, you're going to see the area of your ways. And you're going to have to carry that with you. And it's a big burden. Remember Ebenezer Scrooge and Marley? All those chains that they carried around in the afterlife because they didn't reach out to men when they had the opportunity? Well, it's a Hollywood version of the problem. But it's still true. You know, the things that you do live in your heart. They live in your spirit. And you don't want to be spending the rest of hereafter apologizing to everybody you meet for the things that you did. You don't want to feel like you have to apologize to everyone, because now that you see it, you understand that you were wrong. Okay? So, just a little sidelight on forgiveness of sin and things like that of that nature. Now, one of the other, we did the Father thing. Now, this one I really love. Now here, thousands of churches, millions of Christians, all doing the same thing wrong. You know, it's like, if you know, and we're fixing it now. That's the purpose of all this. That's why I'm here. The sole function for me, is to correct these things so that you can all move on and get the real benefits of them. Because you're not getting the benefits of them. You're not getting the benefits that the Lord wants you to have. Okay? He is living inside of you. Those of you that can hear my voice and know who and what and why, there you go. Okay? Others will come. Others will learn as time goes on and these things get spread around. Think of this is like quality control. You know, things got a little askew, and we have to fix them and get them put back together properly. This is an important one, this next one. And this will probably carry us out. How much time do I have left? I have to look over my shoulder. I'll try and get this done in this amount of time. Next time we get together, we're going to do one of the really big ones. That's the Lord's Prayer. Today, we're going to close with the Sermon on the Mount. Now, here we go. The word goes out that there's going to be this great sermon by this great preacher, and it's going to be at the Mount. And people come from far and wide, just like they did that 828 rally. Okay? There. And look what Glenn Beck was trying to do. He was working like the Holy Ghost. He was spreading the word. He was trying to get the word out to get people to refocus on God. That's good. That's good. He wasn't holding himself as God or as a representative of God even. Just a spirit. Okay? Encouraging you to get back to God, whatever that God is to you. Well, a couple of the same things happened on 828 as happened at the Sermon on the Mount. And all of these wonderful things, when Jesus said the Sermon on the Mount, he said all of these wonderful things. He spoke, he taught, he showed us to try and be peacemakers and be humble and put others before ourselves. Respect, and all good and wonderful things. And what does the church do with it? It creates a miracle to remember it by. They couldn't just leave the words alone. Need the miracle. But we don't want to make fun of them because this was a different time. Okay? And, Jesus fed the masses with information. He fed the masses with education. Okay? Now, we always want to keep in mind, we always want to respect the people that came before us. We live in a shadow of the things that have happened before us. We make a shadow for people to build in the future. I have a song called The Shadow of Tomorrow. And that's, it's an important concept to understand. So we don't want to belittle them. They were doing the best they could. None of these revelations that we're going to do together are to denigrate or take away from any of the things that came before us. But it is designed to be the next step to build on that. Okay? That's very important. We're building on what we learned. For 2,000 years, we've had this. Now it's time to take it to the next step. That's what the wizard is here for. That's what I realized when Glenn Beck had his rally and he said, you've all got to start doing your job. And I started to realize that I haven't been doing mine in a while. So here I am. So, what comes out of the Sermon on the Mount that everybody talks about? This is the big thing. This is, wow, Jesus fed everybody. And all these people came, and when it was over, from the 2 loaves and fishes, there was even something left over when it was done. Now, if you take that as a supernatural, glorious, wonderful thing down from God, etc., etc., you have robbed those people of their humanity. You have robbed every single person that was there that brought some extra from reaping the thanks and the reward that they earned. You have to understand these things properly. Wait till we get to the Lord's Prayer. You're not going to believe that one. Okay, but so what am I telling you? I'm telling you that the miracle that happened on the Sermon on the Mount was that those that had enough and more brought it, so that those that did not have had. People helped each other. People were good to each other, so that the poorest among us could come and we would take care of each other. It's just like having the government step in and doing things. Better for that charity to happen from a church or from a civic organization than from the government. Get the government out. You know what the government could do? They could pick up the garbage and they can run power, defend the country, and protect the borders. Everything else should be done privately. Everything else. Because I'm not even sure they can pick up the garbage correctly. But what we have now is we have a bloated, overgrown government that is completely out of control and can't even do any of its jobs correctly. If it was handled by the private sector, it would be better. With quality control. If the government wants to do anything, it should do quality control, if it would be capable of it. But I digress. Back to the Sermon on the Mount. I have to watch my time. Okay, I have to wrap up. So, in closing, here is the message that you should have gotten from the Sermon on the Mount. A multitude of people got together, some having much, some having little. And those that had enough and more gave to those who had little or none. They, the human beings, that was the miracle that happened. They took care of each other. Jesus filled their hearts with love and spirit. He showed them things that they could use to learn to be better people. And they lived it. They lived it. So what is the miracle of the Sermon on the Mount? The miracle of the Sermon on the Mount is not that Jesus fed a lot of people with a little bit of food. It's that he educated a lot of people about good ways to live, and they, amongst themselves, then shared what they had so that no one went without. Isn't that marvelous? Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that a wonderful, wonderful thing? Okay, now I don't know when the next Revelations is going to be. I try to do 2 at a time. This is the end of Revelations 2. Revelations 3 will be the Lord's Prayer. And that is really, when you think of all the people that are Christians and all the people in all the religions around the world that have been Christians, and they have the most important single thing that Jesus did wrong. Is that scary?